Ever since we first looked up and saw a bird just soaring through the sky, one question has been on our minds for literally thousands of years. It's a dream that has shaped who we are. What if we could fly? Really think about it. That one simple but incredibly powerful question is the engine behind one of the greatest stories of human innovation ever told. It's what pushed countless dreamers and inventors to do the impossible. And this dream? Oh, it's ancient. It's woven into our oldest stories. You see it in the myths of heroes who strapped on wings, only to fall from the sky. And yeah, a lot of those stories were cautionary tales, right? Warnings about flying too close to the sun. But they never could stamp out that fundamental desire to just get up there. Okay, so let's jump forward a few centuries to the Renaissance and to the mind of Leonardo da Vinci. His notebooks, wow, they were like a blueprint for the future, just filled with these incredible designs for helicopters and gliders. The man was centuries ahead of his time, but that's the thing, they were just ideas on paper. The tech to actually build them just wasn't there yet.
So, how did we finally do it? How did we leave the ground? Well, the very first step wasn't about flying forward, it was simply about going up. And for that, we have to go to 18th century France and meet a pair of very clever brothers.
And here it is. This is the moment humanity finally broke free from the Earth. In 1783, the Montgolfier brothers launched their hot air balloon over Paris. Can you even imagine being in that crowd, looking up and seeing people floating in the sky for the very first time? It must have been absolutely mind-blowing.
But there was a pretty big catch. Balloons could go up, sure, just like birds. The huge difference, though? Birds could steer. Balloons, not so much. They were completely at the mercy of the wind. So, we'd left the ground, but we hadn't really achieved true flight. Not yet.
So, to really fly, dreaming wasn't going to cut it anymore. We had to get scientific. It was time for this amazing fantasy to meet the hard, cold facts of physics.
And this is where a guy named Sir George Cayley comes in. This British engineer was the first person to really nail down the four fundamental forces of flight: lift, drag, thrust, and weight. He basically wrote the rule book, turning this whole thing from a crazy dream into a legitimate science. And his work led to this. It's a quiet moment in history, but it is absolutely critical. In 1853, a glider based on his designs actually carried a passenger. It wasn't powered, it didn't go far, but it proved something huge. Controlled gliding was scientifically possible. The foundation had been laid. Now, the man who built on that foundation was the incredibly brave German pioneer, Otto Lilienthal. They called him the Glider King for a reason. He made thousands of successful glider flights, meticulously recording data every single time. He was doing the hard, practical work that would make everything else possible.
But this pursuit was so dangerous. In 1896, a sudden gust of wind stalled his glider, and he crashed. His final words were, "Sacrifices must be made." It just shows you the incredible risks these pioneers took. But his sacrifice was absolutely not in vain.
Lilienthal's research made its way across the Atlantic, right into the hands of two brothers from Ohio. A couple of guys who were about to crack the final and most important piece of the puzzle, the problem of control.
Let's meet Wilbur and Orville Wright. What's amazing is they weren't famous scientists with fancy degrees. They were bicycle mechanics. But what they did have was a relentless curiosity and a genius for problem solving. They studied Lilienthal's work and realized that getting in the air was one thing, but staying in control up there, that was the whole ballgame. And their method was just brilliant. They built gliders, but when the results didn't match the old data, they built their own wind tunnel in their bike shop to test everything themselves. And that led to their masterstroke, wing warping. It was a system for twisting the wings mid-flight, letting them control the plane's balance. Kind of like how a bird uses its wings to steer. This was it. This was the missing link. So now they have it all. A working control system and a lightweight engine they designed and built themselves. The stage was set for a moment that would literally change the world forever. Okay, picture this. It's December 17th, 1903. A cold, windy day on a sandy hill in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Orville Wright is lying at the controls of their machine, the Flyer.
The flight lasted for just 12 seconds, an impossibly short amount of time. You can barely even count it out.
And the distance? A mere 120 feet. That's shorter than the wingspan of a modern jumbo jet. It's almost nothing. But in those 12 seconds, and across those 120 feet, history was made. For the very first time, a machine had achieved powered, controlled, and sustained flight.
The impossible had just become a reality.
And after that brief flight at Kitty Hawk, it was like a dam breaking. That single moment didn't just open a door, it blew it right off its hinges, and progress just exploded.
The timeline is just astounding. Think about it. We go from a 12-second hop in 1903 to aircraft in World War I just over a decade later. By 1927, Lindbergh flies solo across the Atlantic. Then comes the jet age, and soon, global air travel becomes totally routine. Those 12 seconds really did change everything.
When you look back at this incredible journey, from ancient myths to modern jets, you realize that this story is about so much more than just a machine.
It's the story of the human spirit, a story of relentless curiosity, of incredible courage, and of a spirit that simply refuses to accept its limits, a spirit that refuses to stay grounded.
When you know the sky is up there just waiting, that's the question that drove every single one of these pioneers, and it's the question that keeps pushing us to look up and dream of what's next.